Let's get right down to it. NBA Game 5 finals tonight, Teddy. Durant upgraded to question. We just heard a few moments ago before taping that he will be a game-time decision, but without a minutes restriction. We'll get to that in just a few moments with the hot topic of the day. Two best words, Teddy, in sports. Game 7, the Bruins explode with 4 third-period goals to win the game last night and force a Game 7 back in Boston. Blues closed just under 110 for home ice on Game 6. Now we flip to Game 7. Tough beat for underbackers, Teddy. 1-0 going into the third period. Feeling good? Not so fast.
Yeah, underbackers can have that experience on a regular basis in hockey, but that was brutal. I mean, that was a dead nuts under game that all of a sudden, goal, 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 and of course the final one sends it over the total 5-1, sends it over the total. The 5-1 final forces a Game 7 on Wednesday, and of course it went over the total despite the fact that Rask was huge yesterday. I mean, an absolute monster. 3 games where the Bruins have faced elimination this postseason. You know, Game 6 and as well as Game 6 and 7 of the first round series against Toronto. Rask, 1.33 goals against average, 953 save percentage in those games. You know, Bergeron, quote, he's a big reason why we're in this position. He was definitely in the zone. Of course, the Blues 0 for 4 on the power play. And instead of clinching at home, now you got to go to Boston. Big dogs, obviously, in Game 7.
Yeah, it's got to be a tough feeling because you know Game 6, it all lines up. You have your home crowd behind you, get that momentum there, and right from the jump, Boston looked like the better team. Had a couple shots there for the Blues early to try to tie that game up, but the Bruins prevail late, and we're going to see it on Wednesday. Be another madhouse there in Boston. Should be a lot of fun to watch. We'll preview that game in just a few moments on the opening line. But let's talk a little bit of history, Teddy. The Nationals make history in a win over the Padres. Why is that? 4 straight home runs, back-to-back in the 8th inning in the 5-2 victory. The first franchise in Major League Baseball history. Teddy, we're talking about the Nationals here that haven't been around all that long. What was it, circa 2003, maybe 2004 that they've been there? The second team to go yard back-to-back. It was interesting there. Power surge in the 8th inning.
At Petco. You know, I mean, it's one thing to have a power surge. Okay, you see it at Coors. All right, you see it at Citizens Bank Ballpark in Philly. This was at Petco. You don't see 4 straight homers at Petco. And here's the brutal beat. We just talked about a bad beat in the NHL where underbettors got screwed with a crazy third period. How about this? You set an all-time record, the most home runs back-to-back in a row, four in a row. It doesn't matter. They're all solo shots. The game stays under 8, and it doesn't cash over bets.
Yeah, it was interesting, too, because Stammen's a pretty good pitcher there. I believe one of the statistics, like his last year, giving up 3 home runs all year long, giving up 4 in one game, let alone 1 inning on 7 pitches, Teddy. 4 home runs in 7 pitches. Not good for the XFIP there, looking towards the future. But as we know, heading into those summer months, Teddy, we got to get you ready for football season. The 2019 preview today on That Betting Show is those Houston Texans. How about this, Teddy? Texans are 30 to 1 to win the title, 14 to 1 to win the AFC, and the Texans 2019 team total set at 8.5. Finished 11-5 last year, Teddy. Got a home playoff game. Didn't look so good against those Indianapolis Colts. The interesting thing about this as we move forward is the GM got a 5-year deal in the offseason, Teddy. Already fired, so a little bit of upheaval. We know a lot of that bright spotlight there is on Bill O'Brien, who is the head football coach. You know, record overall around 500, but he's gotten the job done. He's won some games, but certainly getting stumped in the playoffs here. We're going to see if they can move forward. Now, the one thing that we know about the Houston Texans, Teddy, electric quarterback, young and dynamic, getting an up-tempo offense going, but they seem to not be able to protect their star quarterback. Now, moving forward, they tried to shore that up in the draft this year, Teddy. Got a couple of linemen out there, but nothing has seemed to work yet. Big year. And I'm going to say that's probably why the GM actually got fired in this. So Deshaun Watson coming into a fully healthy campaign. We'll see what he can do. He's got the weapons at wide receiver, Teddy. He's got the running backs. Just need to protect him. A lot of upheaval also, Teddy, in that secondary for the Houston Texans. A lot of replacements here. Big year for the head football coach in the Texans this year, Teddy, in 2019.
Yeah, expectations are fairly high for Houston. They're considered to be one of the favorites in the division along with Indy going into the 2019 campaign. And you look at what happened last year for the Texans, obviously a real good season for Deshaun Watson returning back off the ACL. They finished with a positive yards per play differential, plus 0.2, which means they gained 0.2 more yards per snap than they allowed on defense. Rushing, they were great. A lot of that had to do with the run defense and Watson's ability to scramble. 0.9 yards per rush, better than their opponents. They did a good job running, and they did a great job stuffing the run. Deshaun Watson, QB rating of 103 last year, opposing QBs just 92.7, although, as you talked about, that secondary has been remade. They finished with a plus 13 turnover margin last year. So, coming into the offseason, the big issue for the wise guys was, hey, their schedule was easy last year, much easier than average. This year, based on this year's season win totals, factoring in the juice, the Houston Texans play the single toughest schedule in the NFL. That's a problem. And it's certainly reflected in the love for Indy in the early betting markets because their schedule isn't as tough as the Texans. You talked about the offensive line, and that's the biggest issue for Houston on the offensive side of the football. We know that Watson can play. We know the skill position around him, the skill position talent around him is good. But, he was sacked, hit, or pressured significantly 275 times in 16 games last year. Now, you sign Matt Khalil, you draft offensive line with your first 2 picks, Titus Howard and Max Sharpring, although both, the pundits didn't like either guy. So we'll see how it plays out. But, NFL high 62 sacks last year. Some of that's Watson scrambling and trying to make plays and holding the ball too long. But if Houston is legitimately going to be better and legitimate Super Bowl contenders this year, they're going to need that offensive line to be a heck of a lot better than it was a season ago. And worth noting from a team chemistry standpoint, you talked about some of the upheaval there. They're having a nasty contract dispute with Javon Clowney right now. Clowney has been sitting out all through the OTAs. And, he only has 29 sacks in 62 career games. But the Texans need him in the fold. They need him happy if that defense is going to live up to expectations. And right now it looks like this contract dispute has the potential to last a long, long time.